What happens when money, power, and silence sit in the same room? Who speaks and who disappears? Most people know the name Jeffrey Epstein, but very few understand the structure around him. This is not just a story about one man, it is a story about systems, about access, about power without accountability, and about how psychology explains silence. Let's begin carefully with facts. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier. He moved in elite circles, politicians, academics, billionaires, and royalty. He owned multiple properties in New York, Florida, and New Mexico, Paris, and a private island in the US Virgin Islands. In 2008, he was convicted in Florida for soliciting prostitution from a minor. But the deal he received shocked many legal experts. He served 13 months in a county jail. He was allowed work release 6 days a week. He avoided federal charges through a controversial non-prosecution agreement. At the same time, many people didn't know the scale of allegations, but the survivors did, and survivors were not heard. Psychologically, this is where something important begins. When a system protects the powerful over the vulnerable, it teaches society something quietly. Status matters more than suffering. For years after 2008, Epstein continued to socialize with influential figures. He donated to the universities, he attended high-profile events, and he rebuilds his image. This is not the accidental behavior. In psychology, individuals with high manipulative traits often rely on three strategies: charm, access, and normalization. When people see someone welcome in elite rooms, their brain reduces subscription. It's called the halo effect. If respected people accept him, he must be acceptable. That's how influence launders reputations. In 2018-2019, Investigative journalism reopened the case. New reporting brought forward multiple women who alleged they were trafficked and abused as minors. In 2019 July, Epstein was arrested on federal charges of sex trafficking of minors in New York. The indictment described as a pattern: recruitment of underage girls, financial payments, and a network that enable abuse. He pleaded not guilty. 1 month later, in August 2019, he was found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling: suicided by hanging. But the circumstances raised questions. Security cameras malfunctioned. Guards reportedly fell asleep. Protocols failures occurred. Whether one believes in competence over conspiracy, one truth remains: when trust in an institution is weak, people fill this gap with suspicion, and suspicion grows in a darkness. Let's pause, because the psychological layer matters here. Why does this case disturb people so deeply? It's not only the crimes. It's about the possibility that powerful networks may have known. Humans are wired to believe in a fairness, and it's called the just world hypothesis. We want to believe that bad actions lead to consequences, that system protects the vulnerable, that powerful people are monitored. When a case like this unfolds, it fractures that belief. And when belief fractures, anxiety rises. Not just about Epstein, but about the safety, about justice, about whether truth survives power. Now let's talk about the files after Epstein's death. Legal proceedings continued against his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2021, she was convicted for sex trafficking minors and sentenced to 20 years in prison. During civil lawsuit and court proceeding, thousands of documents were unsealed over time. This included flight logs, contact books, and disposition and testimonials. Important clarification: being listed in a contact book over flight does not automatically mean involvement in crimes. But public curiosity focuses on a name because psychologically people look for patterns. We ask who knew, who participated, who stayed silent, and sometimes the answer is complicated. Elite social circles often overlap in finance, philanthropy, academia, and politics. Proximity does not equal guilt, but proximity without questioning can create blind spots. This is how the system protects themselves, not always through evil intent, but through comfort, through mutual benefit, through silence that feels easier than confrontation. There is just another psychological truth here. Abuse thrives in environments where victims feel small and perpetrators feels untouchable. Bystanders feel it's not their place. Silence it's rarely neutral. It is usually protective of reputation, power over stability. Survivor in this case described feel invisible, disbelieved, outmatched, and emotional experience matters because trauma is not about just what happened physically, it's about what happened socially afterwards. Where they heard, where they protected, where they validated, for years many were not. This case also forces us to look at how grooming works. Grooming is not just a sudden violence, it's a gradual trust building, isolation, normalization of inappropriate behavior or financial dependence, psychological confusion. Often victims don't immediately recognize the exploitation because manipulation reshapes perception. And whether the abuser holds status, the brain struggles to process the betrayal. How can someone so respected be harmful? That question delays disclosure. Now let's zoom out. The Epstein case is not only about one criminal, it exposes structural weaknesses, lenient plea deals, influence in legal negotiation, institutional fear of scandal, media hesitation in early years, and this is not a unique to one country. When power concretes, accountability often weakens. History shows this is repeatedly. But here is something important. Outrage alone does not create justice. System change through transparency, law reform, investigative journalism, and public pressure rooted in evidence, not speculation. There is a difference between skepticism and conspiracy. Healthy skepticism asks for documentation, facts, accountability. Conspiracy fills gaps with imagination. The difference matters because when everything becomes a conspiracy, real victims get lost in noise. So, what are we left with? The part 1. We have confirmed crimes, a convicted associate, a controversial plea deal, institution failures, and thousands of pages of legal documents, and a death that intensified public distrust. But the deeper question isn't only what did he do? It's how did so many systems fail for so long, and what does that say about the power structures today? Let me leave you with something uncomfortable. If power can influence justice quietly, if reputation can soften consequences, if silence can be socially rewarded, then the real question is not just about Epstein, it's about us. When we see red flag around us for a powerful people, do we question or do we overlook away because of proximity, feel safer than the truth? If accountability depends on who is watching now.